Magneto lives. Yo, my God, everybody! Welcome to LilBigMan. Well, I want to say it's not pretty so much gaming right now. This is a review, it's a LilBigMan review. We are reviewing X-Men Season 1, Episode 10. Tolerance is Extinction Part 3. The season finale. And my God, the cameos were out in effect. I mean, the amount of people that sold up in this episode, whew, I'm not even gonna spoil it, but I would say there were pretty much, I want to say maybe 10 to coincide with the fact that this is the 10th episode. It might have been 10 or more cameos and 2 lover cameos from another animated series sold up too. It was glad to see them too. We all to put this one. I will give a hint to in I did the previous episode. It was either Tolerance is Extinction Part 1 or Part 2. We seen this cameo, and then we just see this we see the same cameo with his girlfriend in civilian clothes. So it was one of these Tolerance Extinction episodes that we see this cameo, but then in this episode you just see him in civilian clothes with some other characters from that animated series. But I mean, we did get another. We got 2 Avengers. If you count the civilian clothes person, that's 3. But well, dang it, because the other person that showed up, that's kind of like 4. He's like a honorary Avengers, DD. That's another hint, DD, as in D. And kind of red. Speaking of red, that's another cameo too. Another person that wears red, appeared in here. I mean, my God, this episode was good. I just ranted about the cameos. This episode basically picks off from the last episode where this is the final battle, the final showdown between Bastion and Magneto, and I guess you could say the final confrontation on both fronts, because at this point they still trying to deal with Bastion, they're still trying to deal with Magneto, but the Magneto side of this gets dealt with pretty quickly, because the Magneto side, at least the fighting part, gets dealt with pretty quickly. And then we enter a new fight with Magneto, whereas Bastion, it was more so with the physical aspects of it. Bastion was more the physical aspects of the fighting in this episode. So you pick up with him. Mr. Sinister gets dealt with as well in a cool fashion. A certain fiery person shows up to help deal with Mr. Sinister. I mean, we got some stupid decisions from humanity's leaders because they're scared, and it was just so much. It was so much, and I don't want to spoil it because it's a good episode. It's very good. But it does open the doorway for another villain, and it seemed like the next season we might have an appearance. I would say the way how this episode ends, the cliffhanger they leave us with to take us into the next season, kind of tells me we're gonna have 2 villains. Now, one villain, if you know the comic book story that they are pulling from, specifically, since we're here, you already know what happened to Wolverine. A certain villain emerges from that incident in which Magneto pulls the antimanium from Wolverine's body a certain someone has to stop Magneto, and doing so creates a new villain. Um, and it seems like that's what we're gonna get in this next season. But we also get the appearance of old villain that we have seen in the previous and the first run of this series when it was just X-Men the animated series. We got an appearance of that villain, but in a young form, and he was and it has to do with what happened to the X-Men in the cliffhanger to give us into the next season. Um, Something happens to them where they end up meeting the young version of who they already fought in the previous version, like I said in the X-Men animated series. Um, but yeah, I mean this was good. Like the way I did at the beginning, I know it was probably cringe, but that scene was so awesome. Like he went by another name, telling me he said, "Ah, Magneto lives." I'm like, what? Oh, like that reminded me of one of the X-Men video games. I think that was like, that if I'm correct, that was a callback to one of the X-Men games from arcade games from back in the '90s, where you get to Magneto, and I think his entrance as a boss, he says Magneto lives. And like that, and I like that. I like that. But the visuals here in this episode, the visuals for that was stunning. I'm going to give you 2 ratings. This episode for me, Tolerance Extinction Part 3, is a 10 out of 10. It gets 10 out of 10 big ups. And this series as a whole is a perfect 10. The series as a whole from episode 1 to now is a perfect 10. I enjoy myself. I feel like that young kid who watched X-Men the animated series all over again. And the nostalgia coupled with the cameos and the callbacks, the comic books that they put in from the story that they told in this season. Yeah. So, like I said, Tolerance Extension Part 3 gets a 10 out of 10, but the series as a whole for this whole season 1, I should have said, that's what I should have said, not series, but the whole season 1 of X-Men 97 gets a 10 out of 10. But you let me know in the comments down below what you thought, and if you enjoy my review of this, my excitement of this, you know what to do. You hit this button right here, not that sign, but my calling card here for all of my reviews. And if you enjoy the video so much, you want to support the channel, all you gotta do is hit those buttons. And as always, hit one of these videos for more of my amazing content. Don't go anywhere because I got a unique video coming up next. So, peace.